This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 4 of How Your Legal Rights Actually Work, where we're diving into the world of relationship law and what actually happens when marriages end. Today we'll break down the essential divorce terms and conditions you need to understand, from property division to custody arrangements, so you'll know what to expect if you ever find yourself navigating these waters. Let's get into it. Nearly 4 in 10 U.S. marriages end in divorce, yet most people know less about divorce law than about their phone's warranty. You're in a judge's hallway, minutes from a hearing. One question matters most. Who decides what the child's best interests really means? Roughly 39% of U.S. marriages end in divorce, but the law doesn't treat every breakup the same way. The path you take depends on 3 moving pieces: why the marriage is ending, what needs to be divided, and how your children's lives will be reorganized. Today's divorce systems are designed less like a public shaming and more like a regulated exit ramp. Most states use no-fault rules, encourage parents to share responsibility, and nudge families toward solutions outside a full-blown trial. Mediation, parenting coordinators, and even online dispute resolution tools now shape how many cases unfold. But the fine print still matters. Whether a text message counts as evidence, how your retirement account is split, or who can decide a child's school can all turn on local rules you've never heard of, until they control your future. So where do people actually get tripped up? 3 friction points show up again and again: time, money, and control. The median U.S. divorce now lasts about 11 months, and if custody is hotly disputed, the process can stretch close to 2 years. That's a long time to have your life on pause. Financially, courts may be sorting everything from student loans to stock options, while child support is calculated with income formulas that can feel more like tax code than family conversation. And when parents disagree, judges may impose detailed parenting plans that function like a legally binding calendar for your family. When the system works well, it answers 3 practical questions. How do you start? What happens to your money? And what happens with your kids day to day? Starting usually means filing a petition or complaint in a court that has authority over your marriage, often where either spouse lives. That first document sets the tone. Checkboxes about contested issues, temporary support, or exclusive use of the home can shape everything that follows. In some places, you'll face a cooling-off period before a judge can sign final orders. In others, you might confront mandatory classes if children are involved, or early settlement conferences that push you toward agreement. Money questions turn on how your jurisdiction views marital property. Some states follow equitable distribution, focusing on fairness, not strict 50-50 splits. A few use community property rules, where most assets and debts acquired during the marriage are presumptively joint. Retirement accounts are particularly technical. Dividing a 401k or pension often requires a special court order so you don't trigger taxes or penalties by accident. Courts may also look at whether one spouse stepped back from paid work for caregiving and how that sacrifice affects future earning capacity. Spousal support, alimony, is separate from child support and far from automatic. Judges might examine the length of the marriage, health and age, and whether one partner needs short-term help to get retraining or find a job. Some places use formulas, others leave broad discretion, which makes outcomes harder to predict and settlements more attractive. For parenting, judges increasingly favor shared legal decision-making, but shared doesn't always mean equal overnights. They may drill into school schedules, special needs, and the parent's ability to communicate. Geographic limits can matter. Relocating with a child, across state lines or even across town, can require notice, consent, or a new court order. Across all of this, evidence matters more than emotions. Texts, emails, school records, bank statements, and social media posts can carry more weight than competing stories about who was unfair during the relationship. A couple might agree on nearly everything except who keeps the house. One spouse sees it as emotional ground zero, The other sees a mortgage and maintenance bill. A court may look past sentiment and focus on whether either can actually afford to stay there long term, then offset equity with other assets, retirement funds for instance, to balance the books. Or consider a parent with a rotating night shift job. Equal overnights sound fair on paper, but a judge could favor a schedule that keeps school night routines stable while expanding holiday and summertime to compensate. That's less about winning and more about matching legal structure to real life. Sometimes, agreeing early on a narrow point, like who handles children's medical appointments, can unlock progress elsewhere. Think of it like adjusting one instrument in an orchestra. Once the violin is in tune, it's easier to hear what the piano needs. In practice, small, specific agreements can shrink the battlefield and reduce the risk that a stranger in a robe ends up scripting the details of your everyday family life. Shared parenting defaults, mental health protocols, and AI-driven tools will quietly change how these cases feel from the inside. Expect judges to lean more on therapists' reports and co-parenting apps that log exchanges like a flight recorder, turning patterns into evidence. Climate-driven moves, embryo disputes, and digital assets, from crypto to monetized channels, will stretch old statutes, much like new instruments forcing an orchestra to rewrite its score. The couples who adapt fastest will shape the new norms. Your next step isn't memorizing statutes, it's mapping your real life onto this legal maze. Think about work shifts, holidays, housing, and safety like you'd plan a long train journey, connections, delays, backup routes. The more specific your map, the easier it is for a lawyer, mediator, or judge to turn your needs into enforceable orders. Before next week, ask yourself, if a judge were looking at my daily texts, emails, and social media posts with my ex, what story would they tell about my ability to co-parent, and what do I want that story to be starting today? If I had to list my top 3 non-negotiables in a parenting plan, holidays, decision-making, and schedules, what would they be, and where am I realistically willing to compromise? What financial documents, tax returns, pay stubs, bank and retirement statements, mortgage, rent info, could I gather this week so that, if I sat down with a lawyer tomorrow, I wouldn't be scrambling or surprised? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on OwlUp.co. Visit OwlUp.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!